Carroll and I are a married couple who have both a very big interest in writing and who've both been writing the whole period that we've known each other. So eventually we conceived of the idea of doing a novel together, and that's basically where it came from.
The book starts with Garrett James walking into an antique store, and she finds a box that has the same symbol as a signet ring that her mother had given to her when she was 16. And she begins to find out that she has this really, this very strange heritage, that she is descended from a group of women called the Watchtowers. Garrett encounters a number of creatures in the book. First and foremost is Will Hughes, and at first she thinks he's a hedge fund manager, a rather unusual figure to begin with, but soon learns that he's a vampire. And she's both terrified of this, frightened of this, and drawn to it because of who Will is. And
that, I think, is something that Garrett, is both interested in and also frightened by. The relationship between Will's sort of visceral life in terms of how unusual a physical figure he is, and then his very unusual occupation on top of it, definitely is unnerving. And she's never really felt love until she meets Will Hughes, and then that's the biggest conflict of them all, to love somebody who could possibly be diabolical as he. Well, it's urban fantasy. When you're using fantastical creatures, there are fairies and vampires and gnomes and all sorts of creatures in this book. It's important to keep the realistic details absolutely accurate so that you have a real-life background to these creatures. My experience living in New York for an entire lifetime and getting to know a part of the city that is much less well known than the famous tourist highlights, and using them as backgrounds. Also, New York is a kind of city that you walk around and you can imagine looking at a subway tunnel that there could be all sorts of strange creatures dwelling there. It lends itself to urban fantasy. Well, I think one of the really distinctive qualities of Black Swan Rising is that it does basically set the table for the reader for a climactic struggle between good and evil that couldn't result in an apocalyptic destruction of the world, or its continuation and its survival. And given the sort of news headlines and threats and basically the current atmosphere in the world, I don't think it's such a leap to fantasy to conceive of a novel with those kinds of elements in it. It was really fun to write this book. It was wonderful to get to experience these characters, to begin to feel, walking around the streets of New York, that you could turn a corner and run into a fairy, or, God forbid it, in a dark park, a vampire. I just hope readers have as much fun reading it as we had writing it.